Jamaica does not have enough money to recover from this Hurricane Melissa. Let me repeat that. Jamaica does not have enough money to recover from this Hurricane Melissa. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. If you've never been here before, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. Help this channel to continue to grow. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video goes up on this channel, which is SouFLoTV. I am your host with the most. Jamaica does not have enough money to recover from this Hurricane Melissa, Category 5 hurricane that just hit Jamaica. And these are not my words. These are the words of the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Andrew Holness. I will get into some information for you in a second, just bear. I made a guess a few days ago, and I said Elon Musk is worth like 50-something billion dollars, or 500 rather, sorry, not 50-something. He is worth about $500 billion or more. And if Jamaica could borrow from Elon Musk, because Elon Musk alone could save Jamaica, if he lends Jamaica about $5 billion, he would not feel any of it missing from his $500 billion that he owns, right? I was guessing the number just by looking at the pictures, just by estimating how big Jamaica is, like its length, width, its miles, 144 square miles, and looking at the videos coming out of Jamaica and pictures of the damage and the extent of the damage, I guessed it's going to take about $5 billion to get Jamaica back to running up on par and looking decent again, like she did before. Lo and behold, the number that came out from the Prime Minister shortly after was not too far from that. So, the preliminary estimate of the damage that was caused by Hurricane Melissa, preliminary, of course, meaning this is just the beginning stage of the estimate. They haven't gotten a complete estimate yet because they haven't quantified the damage yet, because there are places that are still underwater. They haven't gotten back their full electrical grid yet, where everything is up and running on electricity. Their communications are down in many places. Communities are still marooned, hard to get to according to the government, which neither here nor there for us right now, because we have a different belief about that. But the preliminary estimate of the damage that was caused by Melissa, which ruined Jamaica, Southwest Jamaica especially, on October 28th, that has been put between 6 billion and 7 billion US dollars. Or in Jamaican dollars, that would be $1 trillion Jamaican dollars plus. 6 to 7 billion US dollars. I guessed 5. I said if Elon Musk could give Jamaica 5 billion out of his 500 billion, he would not feel it. And I was just talking, right? So this has ripped out a significant 32% of Jamaica's gross domestic product, or GDP, for fiscal year 2024-2025. And this is according to the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. He gave the preliminary estimate of the damage on Tuesday during a lengthy ministerial statement and the House of Representatives, in which he outlined the extent of the destruction that was brought by Melissa and what is expected to be a long, long, long road to recovery for Jamaica. The Prime Minister then emphasized that detailed damage assessments are still underway and that he was sharing the very preliminary high-level estimates only to illustrate the scale of the devastation. He said that the early dollar figure arrived at is based on benchmarks from comparable regional disasters and physical damage to housing, commercial buildings, roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications infrastructure. The opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, also highlighted that with Jamaica expected to receive the full payout of US $150 million from a catastrophe bond and another US $70 million catastrophe risk insurance bond, that money would total only $35 billion compared to the $1 trillion damage estimated that was presented by Andrew Holness. This simply means even with cashing out on our insurance, our catastrophe bonds for 150 million US dollars and another 35 or 70 million US dollars, which will equal about 35 billion Jamaican dollars, it is still very much going to fall short of the estimated 1 trillion, which is required to bring Jamaica back to where it was. 1 trillion Jamaican dollars would be somewhere within the mark of 6 to 7 billion US dollars. So again, Jamaica does not have enough money to recover quickly from this hurricane and what Melissa has done. Even with the relaxation of the physical rules, and you might have 2 to 3% GDP space, we still will have a significant shortfall. He asked whether the government had commenced discussions, negotiations, submissions, particularly with the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, that has a rapid funding facility that would allow Jamaica to access money to deal with all the priorities that was spoken of about and that the members have raised. Now, according to the Prime Minister, Hurricane Melissa was not only a national tragedy, it was also a warning. Very interesting. This part you must hear. The storm's 13-foot surge on our western coastline and up to 30 inches of rain in the central highlands revealed devastating power of a new climate reality. The era of a once-in-a-generation hurricane is over, he said. Now, this is scary. This is scary. In layman's term, what this means or what he's trying to say is gone are the days when you can look for, okay, once in a lifetime you might see a hurricane this strong. Due to climate change and our positioning and demonstrating or witnessing the demonstration of Melissa coming in, slamming into Jamaica at a Category 5, this is going to become the norm. So moving forward, we could very well be hit again with another Category 5 hurricane sometime soon. And of course, this is a long haul for Jamaica to get cleaned up. It's going to take years. So you can't only imagine if Jamaica was to say get hit again sometime next year during its hurricane season with another Category 5, however unfortunate that might be. You see what's happening on the ground already. It is obvious that 1 year from now, Jamaica will not have fully recovered, especially knowing now that the Prime Minister is saying that we very much don't have the money to recover. Then to get hit again, warning the people that this once in a generation hurricane is over. This looks like it's going to be something off the norm now. He spoke directly to fallout that has resulted from Melissa's destruction, stating that it is clear that Hurricane Melissa will have a profound economic impact on Jamaica. The storm struck the heart of Jamaica's productive belt. It tore through Jamaica's breadbasket parish of St. Elizabeth and, of course, Westmoreland. It disrupted our tourism corridor stretching from Westmoreland through St. James and into Trelawney and St. Anne. And it inflicted heavy damage on housing, community infrastructure, commercial operations, and public utilities across multiple of our 14 parishes. Listen, you have to think about this as well, right? It's not like one part of Jamaica got hit and Jamaica can say to itself, well, we make a lot of money through tourism, so the tourism part did not get hit, thank God, so we can have these massive all-inclusive resorts and hotels and tourist attractions up and running and get some money back into the country to recover quickly. The entire corridor is called the tourism corridor. If you remember, during the COVID pandemic, the tourism corridor was left open. So once the country was opened, even though citizens had curfews and citizens had to abide by certain rules, we were still able to accommodate tourists into the country because the corridor was there, and they monitored the corridor heavily with law enforcement officials, making sure that medical personnel and people had their proper shots before they came into the country, and then they were restricted to the corridor. But the corridor wasn't just you being locked inside of a resort. You were able to flex on the corridor without even going into the rest of Jamaica. So the corridor being Westmoreland through St. James, that's the Montego Bay area where the airport is from, the Donald Sangster's airport, and then into Trelawney and St. Anne and these areas. All these areas now are hit super hard, and the majority of them are wiped out. Heavy damage has been inflicted in these communities, in these parishes, on housing, community infrastructure, commercial operations, and public utilities across all these places. So this is beyond serious. And then the talk about the breadbasket, a lot of people don't understand what breadbasket means. It simply means this is where most of Jamaica's food produce comes from, this region. And Jamaica was hit directly there. One of the things I cannot understand is how all the help seems to be targeted on St. Elizabeth. The hurricane landfalled in not St. Elizabeth, but Westmoreland. And Westmoreland was hit harder than St. Elizabeth. So every time I'm scrolling social media and all I see is St. Elizabeth, St. Elizabeth, St. Elizabeth for the first week before Westmoreland started getting some help was kind of puzzling to me as to why they have concentrated so much help on Westmoreland. Another thing I would like to ask is, where are all the people who came into the country to help? We saw the orange jackets. We saw the U.S. military uniforms. We saw them come in with multiple helicopters. We saw the 77 plus planes land in the country with tons of aid. Why are people in Jamaica still marooned off in communities that they're claiming cannot be reached? And we don't see these search and rescue teams that landed in the country with their dogs on the ground, boots on the ground, working alongside our people to help. We don't see helicopters hovering, dropping food and medication or whatever is needed to isolated communities. We don't see any of the foreign aid moving around in the country. And I'm wondering what is happening, because it's been more than a week now. So thousands of households now face the loss of their homes, their entire crops, their equipment, and small enterprises. This is not only a humanitarian crisis, this is a shock to Jamaica's livelihood. This is a shock to incomes. This is a shock to local economies. Andrew Holness said, we anticipate a temporary slowdown of economic activity, particularly in the most affected parishes. Agriculture output will decline. in the short term as farmers have to replant and livestock operations support to restore capacity and confidence. Small and medium sized enterprises, especially those in retail, in manufacturing, in services, and in the creative industries, they have sustained significant losses and they will need liquidity and recovery support to rebuild inventories, to repair their facilities, and to restart their operations. Not to mention places that have workers that come in every day to work to make these businesses run and flourish. You got to understand those people that work there, majority of them have completely lost their homes. It is hard enough to lose your home, but to think about waking up every day and going to work when your home no longer exists. I mean, we've seen the pictures, we've seen the videos. These houses are not just like leaking from the roof or missing a roof. Majority of a lot of these houses are flat out not there where they were built anymore. So at the same time, supply chains of food, construction materials, and consumer goods are being actively restored, though some market disruptions may occur in the immediate weeks ahead. A very preliminary estimate suggests that short term economic output could decline by 8 to 13%. SouFLoTV, I'm predicting an even steeper decline. So the Prime Minister pointed out that this means that revenues will decline as economic activity slows down, even as expenditure must increase to finance emergency relief, recovery, and reconstruction. I don't know so much about the expenditure must increase because we are getting a whole lot of help that I don't see being used. But most naturally, yes, expenditure will increase because point blank and period, somebody has to pay to rebuild whatever was damaged, right? This will place pressure on Jamaica's fiscal target, he said. So meanwhile, Andrew Holness told the House that similar to how the government operated during the COVID-19 pandemic, it will again activate the provisions under Section 48C of the Financial Administration and Audit Act, which allows for the temporary suspension of the fiscal rules in circumstances of national emergency or extraordinary economic disruption. So, he said, we anticipate a rise in the debt to GDP ratio in the short to medium term as resources are channeled into rebuilding for resilience. Yet, Jamaica's record of disciplined fiscal management provides the credibility and space to respond decisively. That's what he said. He said that the administration's focus remains clear to restore livelihood, to protect the vulnerable, and to ensure that Jamaica emerges from this crisis stronger, more resilient, and more competitive than ever before. However, it is also important to state that restoring economic activity must proceed alongside relief and restoration efforts side by side. This is not insensitivity, it is necessity. Reviving production, reopening tourism, and restarting commerce are essential to restore incomes, to rebuild confidence, and to mitigate the wider economic shock. In other words, there's a part of Jamaica that wasn't hit. And that part of Jamaica is going to have to go to work and probably put in more work than ever before, picking up the slack, so to speak, to make sure that some money is still coming into the country so that we can cover some of this damage. Recovery is not just about clearing debris, and it's not just about getting Jamaicans back to work and our economy back on its feet. There's so much more. We are already activating the fiscal and financial instruments available to us and engaging our international development partners to support the recovery efforts. Cash flow support to households, emergency social programs, concessional financing, and targeted industry assistance will form part of a responsible and disciplined economic response. These are all the Prime Minister's words. The Ministry of Finance said will provide further details to the Parliament as assessments are completed and funding packages finalized from Jamaica's multilateral and bilateral partnership or partisanship. I don't see any of this. Some of this is not working or not going to work like how he says, but those are his words. The main part about this, though, that I want everybody to pay attention to is the fact that they have estimated the damages, the amount of money needed to recover from these damages to be between 6 to 7 billion US dollars, which should be somewhere around 1 trillion Jamaican dollars. And even with us putting all our monies together, cashing out our emergency bonds or cashing out our all the insurance that was brought for the country, cashing all those out and putting all our monies together, we come up with $35 billion when we're going to need over $1 trillion. That's just to get everybody on the same page that Jamaica does not have enough money right now to fully recover from what it just got hit with. What does this mean? It means that Jamaica needs more help than ever before. It means that giving and giving and giving is not too much, right? So I know you see a lot of aid going to Jamaica, and I hear a lot of people saying, okay, I think they have enough now. They don't even have half of what they need to recover from this. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. Tell me if you can think of a solution to this problem. And I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.